Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm Michael and you're watching Kini News, the show that brings you today's biggest stories. I hope after the Prime Minister's speech last night, people finally get the message to stay home. He literally had to spell it out and say please several times. And if that didn't convince you to stay home, perhaps the growing number of Covid-19 cases will.
Jadi tolonglah, saya merayu sekali lagi, duduklah diam-diam di rumah.
That is the message delivered by Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin on Wednesday night to the nation, after some people failed to abide by the movement control order on the first day. Today, Malaysia's Covid-19 cases have reached 900, after Health Minister Dr. Adham revealed that the country recorded 110 new infections in a single day as of Thursday. This marks the fifth consecutive day the country has recorded more than 100 cases per day.
Negeri yang paling tinggi kedudukan jumlah kes ialah Selangor, iaitu sebanyak 223 kes, diikuti dengan negeri ataupun wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur 123 kes, diikuti dengan Sabah 112 kes, Johor 101 kes, Negeri Sembilan 55 kes.
Meanwhile, Inspector General of Police Abdul Hamid Badr has denied a viral message that police are planning to detain people who are outside without a valid reason. The viral message claims that a new press release from the police states that those who are outside without a valid reason can be detained under the Act for Infectious Diseases. The top cop told Malaysia Kini in a text message that this was not true. The message also falsely claims that those who are not wearing masks during roadblocks will be fined 200 ringgit immediately. The government and police are heavily encouraging people to stay home during the movement control order, which ends on March 31st. Earlier, Hamid had told the press that he did not want the police to resort to drastic measures. He said he hoped people would understand and shouldn't let it get to a dangerous point where measures will be more drastic. For most Malaysians, the Prime Minister's speech last night was loud and clear, but there are still those who just don't get it, and the police in Selangor are doing their best to educate these people. In the state with the highest number of Covid-19 infections, the Royal Malaysian Police in Selangor has the difficult task of making sure people abide by the movement control order, not through the use of force or by making arrests, but by engaging and explaining to locals why it's important to stay home.
Apa sini? Hah? Tak boleh ramai-ramai lah macam ni, tak boleh ramai-ramai sekarang. Restoran pun tutup kan? Betul? Bungkus saja kan? Dia orang ramai-ramai dulu sini, kumpul-kumpul, kena balik rumah, tak boleh. Sekarang order arahnya government, okey, rumah sini. Satu orang turun beli bungkus cukup, apa semua turun. Mau beli nasi, satu orang. Bungkus, bukan 5 turun, cita-cita tak boleh macam.
Tapi ada risiko lah bila sudah bawa keluar dari rumah. Takut nanti anak kecil.
Watak-watak kita jaga bersihnya.
Nanti balik. Masa yang perlu saja yang boleh keluar. Kalau setakat tunggu kawan macam ni, saya ingat dia pun boleh ambil Grab ke apa ke untuk daripada stesen bas terus balik ke rumah kan. So kita bagi nasihat dulu, sama nanti kan tak ada masalah lagi.
Under the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Measures Within Infected Local Areas, Regulations 2020, gazetted for enforcement of the Movement Control Order, violations can result up to a 1,000 ringgit fine or up to 6 months imprisonment, or both. So far, Malaysia has 900 confirmed Covid-19 cases. If you are an independent elderly person in the Klang Valley, going out to get essential items may be a daunting task right now because of how vulnerable you may be to the virus. And with overcrowding, it just makes things worse. But several hypermarkets and grocers have come up with a brilliant idea. Hypermarket chain Muhyiddin and supermarket Jaya Grocer are allowing senior citizens and vulnerable members of society a chance to restock on essential items before it opens to the public during the movement control order period. Muhyiddin Managing Director Ahmed Ali Muhyiddin previously said their stores would be open at 7:30 AM, exclusively for senior citizens and the disabled, to give them time and space to shop. Meanwhile, Jaya Grocer announced that it will open at 9:30 AM for the elderly and vulnerable, so they can shop in a safe and worry-free environment. On the second day of the order, KiniTV paid a visit to 2 outlets in the Klang Valley to see how it's helping senior Malaysians who are the most vulnerable to Covid-19 with their day-to-day lives.
You rasa happy ke tak dia bagi you masuk awal?
Happy, okay. Cepat. tak ramai orang.
Dia ada bagi counter special ke apa tak?
Tak ada something special, tapi dia cepatlah, orang tak ramai. Kalau kita nak timbang pun cepat, kalau nak apa pun cepat.
So you definitely think it's a good thing?
Definitely it's a good thing, yes. Definitely. And I encourage senior citizens to come at this hour. Don't go with the rush hour. Yeah, it's really good.
Usually, what time do you come for like grocery shopping?
Usually about 10 o'clock, but now I try to come at 7:30, yes.
So you usually at 10 o'clock, like is it like you have to fight with the other youngsters or whatsoever?
Yeah, usually 10 o'clock is very busy, but then now at 7:30, it's very nice. It's very, very not crowded at all, yeah.
Dia allow anak masuk juga kan? Bukan warga emas saja kan?
Tak, saya cover bapak saya lah. Takut dia apa-apa jadi jatuh ke apa kan. Kalau tidak memang dia tak bagi masuk untuk orang muda lah.
Jadi kalau you datang bersama dengan bapak you, macam bapak you warga emas, jadi dia
bagi masuk. Dia bagi masuk.
Ada sempit ke masuk?
Tak sempit. Biasalah.
Biasanya datang sempit kan? Jadi hari ni?
Tak ada. Elok, selesa.
Sangat selesa.
Shoppers at Jaya Grocer were also happy with the new policy.
Are you happy with the policy?
Yeah, I think it's a very considerate that they open up for a different segment of people, prevent if there's any rush here.
So do you think that it's an effective way to kind of like prevent the coronavirus spread?
Well, I think people need to go out and get things, but what you don't want is a stampede of people rushing to just grab everything.
Around what time that you arrived?
I'm here about 9:15 from Shah Alam.
From Shah Alam?
Yeah.
So that were you happy with their policy that they opened earlier?
Yeah, it's nice. It's good for the senior citizen. Yeah, so that you don't have to fight. You can come early.
Stay home. If that's still too hard to comprehend, the government may be forced to take more drastic measures. The military may be mobilized if Malaysians refuse to comply with the movement control order to combat COVID-19, said Defence Minister Ismail Sabri. Ismail said this was among the proposals brought up at the meeting of the newly set up Special Ministerial Committee on the implementation of the order. However, Ismail said he believes in the police capability to improve the compliance rate, and if things improve, the army need not be deployed. He said for now the police have been instructed by Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin to advise people, but this may change if people still do not comply.
Dan setakat hari ini pihak polis mengambil tindakan yang berhemah, iaitu menasihati sahaja. Dan saya percaya kalau pematuhan ini masih tidak meningkat, saya percaya akhirnya pihak polis terpaksa menggunakan undang-undang dan mengenakan tindakan yang lebih tegas lagi.
Under the movement control order, all non-essential businesses have been ordered to close while Malaysians are barred from leaving the country and foreigners prevented from entering. Malaysians have also been urged to stay home and only go out if there is a necessity, such as to replenish food supply. One of the best ways to stop the spread of COVID-19 would be to practice good hygiene. Washing your hands could go a long way, but personally I know many of you who don't, and perhaps you all need some inspiration. 1 week ago, Perak Menteri Besar Ahmad Faizal Azumu was occupied with the state's political crisis, but a lot has changed since then, and there's another crisis that needs Faizal's attention: the fight to combat the spread of COVID-19. One of the most frequently given public health advices is to wash one's hands thoroughly, but many people don't practice the correct hand washing technique or spend enough time scrubbing their hands. In a bid to raise awareness, Ahmad Faizal has taken upon himself to show how to perform hand hygiene properly.
Ini cara kita mencuci tangan dengan betul-betul bersih. Kemudian kita dah buka jam, kita pasang air, jangan pasang terlalu kuat, tapi kita nak jimatkan air.
Experts have encouraged washing hands frequently because hands may have come in contact with objects that have been contaminated with the virus that causes the disease. If the hands are then used to touch the face without being properly cleaned, particularly the eyes, nose and the mouth, then the person may have a chance of being infected. In a separate video uploaded shortly after, Ahmad Faizal explained the importance of sanitizing commonly touched surfaces as he wiped down a table at the living room of his official residence. Ahmad Faizal's message comes amid a 14-day movement control order which attempts to slow the spread of COVID-19 by reducing the movement of people. Coming up next, COVID-19 kills hundreds in Italy. And panic buying makes its way to Africa. All that and more after this. This next story is brought to you by Blue Air. The COVID-19 situation in Europe continues to worsen. If Malaysians don't take the movement control order seriously, perhaps this would be Malaysia in a few weeks.
Italy reported 475 new deaths on Wednesday, the biggest increase since the outbreak started and the highest one-day total posted by any nation. France also reported a spike in deaths, rising by 89 or 51% to a total of 264 in 24 hours. Around the world, rich and poor alike saw lives turned upside down as events were cancelled, shops and workplaces emptied, streets deserted, schools shut and travel restricted. Italy, which has a death toll of nearly 3,000 from over 35,000 cases, has called on students and retired doctors to help an overwhelmed health service. The coronavirus outbreak has now infected over 200,000 people and caused close to 9,000 deaths in 164 nations, triggering emergency lockdowns and injections of cash unseen since World War II. The crisis has created a wave of solidarity in some countries, with neighbors, families and colleagues coming together to look after the most needy, including dropping supplies at the doors of those forced to stay inside. Around Spain, applause and the banging of pots ring out in the evenings at 8 p.m. as self-isolating neighbors expressed gratitude to health services. Stores in several countries have also begun reserving special times for elderly shoppers to help keep the most vulnerable away from those who might infect them. The United States, which closed its border with Canada except for essential travel, sent 2 military hospital ships to New York's harbor and the West Coast. US President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that the country was on wartime footing and invoked special powers through the Defense Production Act to rapidly expand manufacturing of masks and protective equipment in short supply.
Panic buying has made its way to Africa, where many people can't afford to panic buy. There were long lines in shops and markets across Africa on Tuesday as people stocked up as the coronavirus spread across the world's poorest continent. Africa has seen a rush of coronavirus cases this month, and governments are taking drastic measures to curb its spread. At least 30 African nations have now reported more than 400 cases. In several countries, panic buying set in and prices rose amid the sudden rush of demand. A fruit and vegetable vendor in Rwanda blamed the increase on wholesalers and said that he wouldn't budge on prices.
We're increasing food prices. For example, rice, beans, sugar, and fruit prices have all increased so much. There's no negotiation about this. Either you buy or you go, because in a few days we know that the market will be closed if the situation escalates. You can check with shops too. They increased prices.
According to the United Nations, up to 42% of people live in poverty in Africa. For them, panic buying is a luxury they cannot afford, and price rises mean that some will go hungry. But a number of countries are taking action. Kenya has stepped in to curb price rises, and Rwanda too, which fixed prices late on Monday for 17 food items, including rice, sugar and cooking oil. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Prasad Michael. Thank you for watching.